Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to this program. This is Wilbert Mukori. Uh, Tonight, we'd like to discuss two articles that are in the recent papers. The first one is regarding a survey that showed that the number of sex workers in Zimbabwe has increased considerably, up to 59.6% of women in the country were unemployed, and many of them were apparently turning to commercial sex to earn a living. I'm joined tonight with Tawanda and Godfrey to discuss the topic. Welcome, gentlemen.
You.
So we start with you, Tawanda. What do you think?
Well, when I look at this, I feel sorry for our sisters. Whatever it is, they are coming. They are all trying to make a living. You can imagine some of them are single parents, whatever it is. It's all because from our own making. It's not them really choosing to do that. It's coming from the way is that there is no job whatsoever for them to do, so they resort for something else to feed their family or to feed themselves. The unemployment rate in Zimbabwe is too high. Wherever you might think, this problem is not them really. I will say, from my own perspective, is like more political than anything else. That is the way I see it. I don't know whether other people might differ, but if there is employment, people won't have that time to do all those sort of things. You can imagine you go to work and you are tired. The next thing what you want to do is to go home, rest, and go to work tomorrow. But they've got nothing to do. They've got nothing to feed their family with. There's nothing.
Yeah, Godfrey?
Yes, thank you. I agree with it is out of desperation. Nothing to earn a living from. The thing to resort to is your possession have that can bring you some income. This has also been, in a way, encouraged a legalization of such acts. It's no longer a crime. Before it was in the shadows, but now the legal is not that illegal. It's now illegal to engage in such acts. So many are encouraged because of the circumstances. There is no penalty for doing otherwise, for doing that. So it's out of desperation, and secondly, because it's been legalized.
Well, I agree with you there, Godfrey, but in this particular case, even if they were to retain laws incriminating this activity, I think out of desperation, still that will continue. That is the tragedy. I think one of the things that I feel sorry about is that we had made so many gains as a nation since independence. We had really focused on the girl education and improving the status of women in society and so forth. And this economic meltdown is dragging us back, to those crisis days, which is really tragic. Of course, this is not the only consequence of the economic meltdown. The criminal activity among men is also increasing, gold panning, or other small criminal activities, and some of them major ones as well. They are also on the increase out of economic desperation, which is really tragic. So one day you can have a go.
So what? My question to you guys is, what is the way forward? Because we might discuss this, we might say this, whatever it is. We have to think of a strategy, because no matter what it is, as they say, you can take me out of the ghetto, but you cannot take the ghetto out of me. No matter you might have a British passport, but still you are a Zimbabwean. You feel for that. Whatever is happening back home, you feel for it. We need to sit down as Zimbabweans and think as Zimbabweans, what shall we do to help our country? Don't think about yourself. Think of the country. How we gonna help the country? Because this is where I feel like no matter what it is, I might help my sister. Okay, then my sister pulls out, but I'm just thinking of in a smaller circle. We have to think outside the box. What shall we do to resolve these issues which are actually happening back home? And I think partly
Yeah.
we
Sorry, on that one, Tawanda, actually, what I thought we could do is
mm,
discuss the short term, medium term, and
mm,
long term problems in
mm,
society.
okay.
Sorry, to the individual, and then to society, and then
Mm,
move on to what are the root causes of the problem, and then what are the solutions. So you are saying what I was going to come down to, but I thought we could have it.
okay.
What are the short-term problems, medium-term problems, and long-term problems to the individual, to the family, and to the nation?
Yeah. The short term is there is this the disease are all over. I tell you, I work in health professional. This disease is when you catch it, it's just gonna kill you. So it's that is the impact when I read the article and see that, and when I'm thinking of the health system back home, if anything happens to me, what am I gonna do? It's just literally a death sentence. And that is my only worry. And the problem is, even if we have to be productive, all the people who are productive will be probably 6 feet under. This is where my worry is when I look at that rate. When I'm thinking, because I'm thinking of the diseases, I just say, oh, okay, where are we leading to? Because I was listening to the question and answer in Parliament when the Minister of Health was being asked about so many questions. I never got anything which was tangible, which say why there's so much exodus of the health professionals leaving the country. It's basically they are training the health professional for other countries, which is a worry to me. You know what I mean? If they can put the resources in the health, rather than putting the resources in their pocket, whoever is in power, then we will solve the problem. Because if that person is going to get the money, I'm telling you, I won't be here. I'll be back home doing something for my country.
Yeah. Godfrey, what do you have to go?
Okay, yeah, but we also see that this is a old trade. It has been there for years. Problem that we are facing this now is that it is legalized. There's nothing to do, and the only way is to resort to that. As it's also causing a lot of health problems. Of them, short-term problems. Others, lasting problems like HIV. It's also putting a stress, otherwise limited resources in the country. I don't know if whether we should be arguing on grounds or the only problem is on moral grounds is that it's now going down. In other words, the ages going into that trade are getting lower and lower. So you find a 12-year-old engaging in that. We cannot blame the parents, but I think be blaming all the blame should be placed on the government for legalizing it or for failure to control. After legalizing, failure to.
Totally agree with you there, Godfrey. I think this is where we are now. You know, where we have got problems at the individual level, at the family level, and at the national level. And the irony is that Mnangagwa has been campaigning on no one will be left behind and no place will lag behind. The truth of the matter is, all these women are being left behind. Their families are being left behind. Because can you imagine a family where most of those women will be mothers or sisters or nieces or aunts, and what kind of family will they have? They are supposed to be an active member of a family, of a society, of a nation. What kind of contribution are they making? This is a whole nation that is now lagging behind, and that is the truth. I mean, you're looking at roughly 60%, of our women folk are now being forced into prostitution in desperation. I think that is really, truly tragic. And it is a pity that we have allowed this to happen. So I don't know whether, Godfrey, you'd want to start on what are the root causes of this economic problem that has forced women into prostitution. We could start with you, Godfrey.
Yeah, you are asking what are the
The
causes?
root causes? Yeah.
The lack of jobs. Itself, let's start from this. Itself is a job. If you go into it by choice, it's your choice. It's by choice. It's your choice. There's nothing wrong with it. So many other, it has now become recognized as a way. Most countries accept it as part of work or a profession, we can say. So if the root causes, as we have been saying here, people are being forced into it. It's not out of choice. It's now because of a need. All the resources that you have on yourself to earn a living, then fingers point to the government. In a way, it's also a lack of education, in the sense that your choices are then limited. You cannot go to South Africa and do a good job in Zimbabwe. There is nothing. You have no a choice in that area because you are limited in the way of you are able to do because of lack of education. So it's also caused because you become the breadwinner because of other your family. You become the breadwinner, and then you are forced to go into anything that brings in income.
Okay, Tawanda, do you want to have a go?
I think we are basically going backward from when we gained independence. There was this issue of education, and there were a lot of schools being built, so that there was once we were like top. Our literacy level was top in the world, if not even only in Africa. But these days we are just going backwards, and it's actually also the other cause which is actually there. For these days, for you to afford education, you have to have money and have to have somebody either in diaspora helping you to support, to sponsor you, or whatever that it is, to continue with your education. It's so difficult. You can imagine being a teacher or a nurse, how much do you get, and to be able to send your child to school, from there send that same child to university, when you, without even buying any food, I don't think your salary, the salary of of any civil servant will be able, teachers and nurses, whatever you might call them, will be affording to pay the university school fees. Recently, you saw in the newspapers students at universities striking because they just increased the prices of whatever accommodation and everything, and these people cannot afford it. Where do they think that people get the money? We are actually derailing our actually train, which has been moving forward, but we are drilling going backward. That is also a cause. Then at the end of the day, the dropout from there, where do they go? Commercial sex. That's if there is a girl. then they can make. And in those institutions, the institution of higher education, it's very high, which used not to be. So they just want to sustain themselves. We have to look at, but then, like what Godfrey has been saying, the root cause still comes back. The blame still comes back to the government. They must do something, because you as a father or a husband, we expect you to do something to your family. So to provide for your family, the government has to provide for their people so that they've got something to do. There's nothing to do. It might be a choice, or you might be forced to do it to make a living as a breadwinner, like what Godfrey said. Some people are breadwinners. What are they gonna do? They've got nothing. Family
Well,
are going.
I agree with you both there. I think we would all agree that the root causes is actually outside these women's control.
Mm,
Most of these women are going into prostitution not out of choice, because they
mhm,
are compelled.
mhm,
That's the only way they're going to earn a living. And I also agree with you, the one that there when you say the solution really lies with government. The economy has been on a downward um, slide ever since independence. And we are where we are now, where 50% of the population now live in abject poverty.
mhm,
And that is the tragedy. The basic services like education and health have all but completely collapsed because of lack of funding.
mhm,
And unemployment has soared. It's been 80% plus for the last 20 years. And
mhm,
it's all because of bad economic mismanagement, corruption, and that has landed us where we are, which is most unfortunate. And I think it is a pity that we find ourselves in this kind of situation. But I was thinking we could now move to what is the solution. I know, Tawanta, you were already getting into the solution there. I don't know whether you'd want now to zoom in on that one. What are the solutions?
I think the solution, we also has to put people in diaspora. We have to really come together. Forget about being partisan, whatever it is. Like, I think that is the biggest weakness we have as Zimbabwean. We are too partisan, either MDC or Triple C or ZANU PF, and think of Zimbabwe as my country. How do I rescue the country from where whatever is happening? If we sit down and together and say, okay, this is what we want to do, and we can do it, and we sit down together and forget about being partisan and think of, my priority is not about anything but about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is on top because I'm a Zimbabwean. Then from there, we can work out something. But until that concept we have of being partisan, which is is very hard to get rid of. Every time I do some discussion in different circles, it's too much. It has been polarized, be it home and in diaspora. It's so polarized that we cannot come out with one single solution. Otherwise, we end up just saying Mr. Mkoro is ZANU-PF or a Triple C. Tawanda is MDC. You know what I mean? Godfrey is the Triple C. Then at the end of the day, we will never agree on anything. This is where our problem is. Until that mindset is removed, then we will be able to resolve. We have got so many talent out there in diaspora, which if we come together as Zimbabwean, that country has got so many resources. You know what I mean? We can do
My
anything.
argument with you, Tawanda, there would be why does it have to be people in the diaspora?
Somebody has to start it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be somebody in the diaspora.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be somebody in the diaspora. I'm just saying, be it, that's why I said, be it in Zimbabwe or a diaspora, we are so partisan. Even if you go home and you start talking, those who support Triple C, they are so adamant
We
of
are
Triple.
losing.
Those who support ZANU-PF, they are so adamant of ZANU-PF. You cannot shift them, their position. So the problem is not being diaspora or back home. It's just being partisan. That concept, if we can remove it, we can go a long way. We have got so many natural resources in our country. That country should be in the middle class, whatever you might think of, because the so-called first world will never give you the that you are in the first world. They will give you somewhere in the middle class, but we will be comfortable.
But Tawanda, you've got also to admit that in this particular case, if there was an opportunity to find out how many people support ZANU-PF in an open system, you'll find maybe they are not in the majority anymore, particularly given this present economic situation. So it's not necessary that we should all uh, agree, all of us. We can agree to differ.
Yes.
But the problem is here is not so much that we fail to all agree, but rather that we fail to agree to differ, isn't it?
Yes. Let's agree to differ and we move on and we can be. And I should learn to accept positive criticism, constructive criticism, then from anybody. Then it builds me up, it builds my family up, it builds the society I'm living up. That's how it starts everything. But if I am not willing to listen to anybody, whatever you say, then it won't help me or the society I live in, nor my family. I'll just stick to whatever I think is right.
Well, in that case, I would say then what you're now saying is the root cause is actually because in this particular case, it's not so much that we failed to unite to agree to one position. It's just that ZANU-PF has got the power and it can overrule you. You know, what the most important thing here is that in a democratic nation, you should be able to say ZANU-PF has failed, and therefore then let's have somebody else in power. And ZANU-PF is saying no, I I am the only one who's suitable to rule this country, and that is where we are. That is what what is the root cause here. I would say, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I do agree. Sorry, Godfrey. I just want, do you know how I would say Mujuru can destroy a big tree? Is that inside? We have seen, if you go public, they'll crush you. Now we have to think of a different tactic how to handle this situation. I know if I come to you, Mr. Corey, to say come direct, then I have to. I know you're gonna push me away. I have to devise a tactic now. That's why I said we have to come together as Zimbabweans. And the truth of the matter is, they have failed. That is the bottom line. We agree on that. But how do we deal with it? But the problem is we are so on ourselves, we are not united so that we can fight the common enemy, which is within us. As long as we are like divided, in management they say somebody would uses a divide and rule so that I don't talk to Godfrey, neither do I talk to you. I come to say, do you know that Mr. Nkore says this to you? And then the two of you, you don't talk, but you all feed me with information. At the end of the day, that's what they're doing. Until we learn that they are using the divide and rule tactic, we will never push them out of power. The truth of the matter, they have failed. So what
do
are
you
we
want to have a say there?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, what we can do, but we just have to accept that something that is there, and we also have a situation where the social fabric has been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to do is to identify the triggers. We have been saying poverty, they are pushed into that because maybe lack of education, options. Also, they are going into that because it's something that has now been legalized. Remember a few months ago, there was, although it turned out to be false, maybe, where there was fake news, we can call it now, that people were selling fingers or toes in order to, as absurd as it was, but if true, that is the level of desperation that people into. So anyway, to maybe control its effects, we need to educate our people, the people that go into it. And firstly, we have to accept that it's something that is, all we can try and do now is to limit its damage, the causing in the health and in many other sectors. So we can, maybe the government put some strict laws regarding that in terms of the engaging in a safe act. That way we can limit or reduce the strain that it is putting on the health sector. As long as there are buyers, I think buyers are also the ones promoting that. As long as there are buyers, and also as long as it is a lucrative business will find many going in. And as it is now, it's cutting across all professions. You can find, like the one I was saying, you can find teachers, you can find nurses, you can find everyone, all to earn a living. And secondly, because lucrative, it's better than what they are doing.
Well, on that point, I think we need to narrow it down to we have agreed that most of these people are doing it out of desperation, and in this particular case, we can address the root causes of why so many people are desperate. And those root causes, I thought we have narrowed it down to the economy is in a serious situation, and also in this particular case, the large increase in the numbers of people, not only involved in prostitution, but in all other manners of criminal activities because of unemployment. So that is what we've got to look at. Yes, of course, it is true that prostitution is probably one of the oldest profession in history, but it is common in all countries. But the point there is, in Zimbabwe, is being exasperated by the economic meltdown, and the individual cannot be held responsible for that. And that is what we're saying there. Those are the root causes of the problem. Address those root causes, then you can address all the other ones. Because yes, even in a country like the UK here, there is prostitution. But nonetheless, even here, when the economy is not doing well, the level of prostitution and other minor criminal activities does go up as well. So you've got to look at the root causes. The root causes is the economic meltdown. And then in the case of Zimbabwe, we just said with unemployment has shot up to about 80%, and it's been there for the last 2 decades. 80%. And in the article that we were referring to, the number of women who were interviewed, they did admit to they were going into prostitution out of desperation. So the root cause is the economy. The economy has failed. And therefore, then we should address what is the solution to the economic failures, the endemic economic failures in Zimbabwe.
The problem is really like what you say is corruption. There's that is a big problem. Even as much as you do business, people, as much as we small, you do the corruption level at your own level. The bigger you go, the more corrupt you become. The deals you make, that is the biggest business, and no one is accountable to anybody. This is the biggest problem. How do we get rid of the system which is so corrupt? The people who are supposed to be getting rid of the corruption are corrupt. People like the police. How do you can't fire the entire police force? You know what I mean? They are all corrupt. Everything, you want something, you have to pay for anything, which I know are entitled to get from the government. That is the biggest problem. How do we get rid of that corruption pandemic, which is actually gone into our society so badly that everywhere you go, for you to give me something, I have to pay you to do something for me. That's we have to do that until such a time that if I do that, I should go to jail. Not
Okay,
to
let's say from Godfrey, what is the solution to ending corruption, Godfrey? Then I'm just posing
to
the
make it
problem that Tawanda has posed for you
yeah,
there.
yeah, to make it a punishable act. Yeah, to
Sorry,
to
say
make
that
it a
again.
punishable, to make it, in other words, if you
Yeah,
are
but who will punish the corrupt people? If the people who are in power are the ones who are the godfathers of corruption. This is why we failed to stamp out corruption, isn't it?
yes, because it's starting from the top. In fact, those
Exactly.
are the yeah.
So if you're going to punish the police, who is just a messenger of the godfather, who is at the top, who is the one who is benefiting the most actually from the corruption, so you'll never stamp out corruption then.
Yeah. So in a way, we can say is to have a system fair. In other words, so we can go back to implementation of political that will bring in a proper governance.
Totally agree with you there. I think the solution has got to go back to good governance. Whether
yes.
we like it or not, we have got to go back to a political system that says, ZANU PF, you failed, you have got to step down. Whereas the present political system we have in Zimbabwe is basically saying ZANU PF has got the divine right to rule, and we cannot remove them from office. And we saw it in 2008 when they blatantly rigged the 2008 elections. You know, if you can't win an election with 73%, I mean, please, how are you going to win that election? You know, and yet we have not put any meaningful reforms in place, and we keep participating in these elections. How are you going to win them? This idea that we can win because we have got winning in rigged election strategies, I think is naive to say the least. I don't think Triple C, Chamisa, and these friends have got any solution to the current political problem. And definitely, this issue of this winning in rigged election strategies is not a solution at all. Don't know whether you want to come in there, I wonder.
Yes, because I also like when I think of that, I think the 5 years when they have a GMU, they had all the 5 years to really change all these things. They wanted to change the electoral laws, everything. They had everything. But as soon as they went in there, they forgot about it. They were enjoying being driven in the back of Mercedes and they forgot it. As soon as they left, they started crying. To me, I don't understand. I wouldn't even trust them again, whether ZANU PF or them, because they just change. It's just like you changing your jacket to be Triple C. It's the same MDC members who just moved to Triple C. It's not like a brand new organization which was started afresh. You know, It's just like between the two of us, we don't agree. Then we split into two groups. It's we are the ideology is still the same, but the problem is they should have sorted it out then. That is why I said we have to go back. We as Zimbabweans, forget about Triple C, forget about ZANU-PF, forget about the MDC. We as Zimbabweans, we have to sit down and come up with the solution to get rid of all these people, MDC, Triple C, ZANU-PF, all of them. They are all the same to me. That's how I look at it. And look for a new blood, new broom, and see how it works. Maybe we might find the solution there, or we might be worse off. We will never know, but you will only know the solution after you have tried it. But we are so scared of trying things as Zimbabweans. That is where the problem is. We are so partisan, like what I said. Forget about those three organizations. We have to come up with something unique as Zimbabwean, home and abroad, and get rid of this cancer, these cancers, whatever is, which is eating our body. ZANU-PF is eating from another angle, Triple C from another angle, MDC from another angle. To me, I would tell them they are all cancerous. I need to get rid of them and start afresh. I don't know how you see it. As long as they are there, we are not going to go anywhere. We will talk and talk until I don't know when. But as soon we need the action plan to sit down and agree, to disagree if we disagree, but with the agenda focusing on Zimbabwe. Then our common agenda should be Zimbabwe. Then you end up with whatever we are doing, we meet in the so-called the common factor should be Zimbabwe. That is my solution. Get rid of this cancerous organization, the three of them, kick them out, look for our own solution and start something else. That is a way we should go.
I think exploring the answer to that one, how are we going to kick them out, is another big problem, which we maybe should leave for tomorrow.
Yes.
Godfrey, I don't know whether you'd want to say your closing remarks there.
Yes, a change is, and the question is, how do you bring that change? We've been trying for many years to change. When we talk about change, I think the ordinary voter knows what it is to be changed. Most just believe that in order to just continue with living at the moment. Not many can imagine water can come out of a tap as it should be, just merely by opening the tap. It can come on whenever you want. Turn the switch, the lights will be there. Seem to understand where we are aiming at. Not enough about what life would be under campaigning right now under their government. They push that enough. So the people are just at the moment of them are just voting on the basis of, let's just try this in order, whatever is there, the system that is there, the system of no reliable system, no electricity, no whatever. Someone can come up strongly with imagine what life would be without the present government, or what they are missing out because of the present government that is there. Then I'm sure people vote in numbers, although the numbers don't really matter as long as we are still using this very system. So it's back to implementing can bring in good governance.
Okay, thanks very much, Godfrey. I think, gentlemen, if you want, we could take that subject up and discuss it tomorrow. And I think it's an important subject. How are we going to bring about meaningful change in Zimbabwe? And I think we can explore it. If you're available tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, same time, we can explore that. So to the listeners, we've got to leave it at this. Just wanted to, before we go, talk on one other additional story that was in the papers today. This is a story about NASA spacecraft that's arrived on the moon. It's a fascinating story because the Americans are back saying this is unmanned craft that has gone to the moon, and in 2025 they intend to send men on the moon. The main reason why I brought it up actually is this reminds me of a story by when it is said that when Julius Nyerere was told about the Americans landing the first men on the moon in 1969, his remark was, they are landing men on the moon, and meanwhile, we are struggling to cross the street. It was a pertinent remark. And to be quite honest, I think if we want to be honest with ourselves, we in Zimbabwe, we are still struggling to cross the street. In fact, if anything at all, the streets we inherited at independence in 1980, they are now full of potholes. So, it's even worse off. The hospitals, they are in such a dilapidated state. There are photographs of, we all know stories of hospitals like Harare Hospital, Mpilo Hospital, where patients are now sleeping on the bed, on the floor rather. And we have just been talking of this case of prostitution, where people are unemployment is so high that many people are resorting to prostitution, even knowing fully well the risks of HIV, AIDS, and the country is absolutely going nowhere, and I think it's sinking fast. And I think it is maybe a pertinent point to end our discussion today on that point, that while others are making progress, we are not making any progress at all. Thank you very much. Good day to everybody, wherever in the world you are, and we hope you'll be able to join us again tomorrow. I hope the two gentlemen will be able to join us and have the discussion on the issue of how are we going to, as Tawanda says, get the cancer of ZANU-PF and Triple C out of the Zimbabwe patient, or else it'll kill the whole nation. Thank you and good night.
I'm gonna do a proper research about that. I hope tomorrow I'll bring something up and give you some examples. Okay. Good night.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Godfrey.
Thank you.